What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Hot Take. Today, we're in a 2005 Mazda MX5 Sport. Sport is a trim?
Yeah.
We have Daniel with us. This is his MX5. Tell us a little bit about this car.
Yeah, so it's a 2006 MX5 Sport, first year of the NC generation. I kind of just built it to be a street car primarily that you could take to the track. So, I mean, it has like the basic, track mods, suspension, roll bar, sway bars, stuff like that. But also like a little bit of interior mods to kind of make it a little more, personable and something that I can enjoy driving on the street too.
That's awesome. Is this red trim factory or no?
So no, it's not. So this is from a club edition model. Most of the cars come with just like a plain black one, but the club's got like a white one or a red one like this. So
it's the sticker factory?
Sticker's not factory either.
Yeah, we got a roll bar in here. Now this will be a really fun car. Let's go ahead and hop on the road and see how she drives. Ooh, I like that. Nice and rumbly. Oh, the parking brake is so far over there.
No, yeah. So like for the left-hand and right-hand drive, it's like in the same place. So like this is like mainly.
Oh, that's hilarious.
The right-hand.
Oh, Mazda.
So it's right there, but then like they didn't move it for the left.
Yeah, I got to use like all my arms length to reach the parking brake.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So some initial impressions. Ride's not too bad. I hear the gearbox noise you're talking about. Is that from the shifter? Or is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so like the stock shifters, they're like weighted a lot and like they have like rubber dampers and stuff in them, but like
yeah.
This one is just like direct. So like all the vibrations you hear come like right up through the stick.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It is a little firm over these bumps. I mean, we expected that. It is a Miata. Try fifth. Okay. The throttle pedal is very interesting. It's it doesn't have a lot of feedback. Is this electronic throttle?
Yeah, drive by wire.
Drive by wire. Yeah, okay. It's not terrible, but it's not amazing. There's definitely worse. See how downshift is. Okay, that's not bad. It's a little different. Oh, this thing handles really well. Revs drop very quickly too. Is this a stock clutch kit?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I'm liking this.
No, yeah, that was actually one of the reasons I wanted to do the short shifter, is that there's almost no rev hang in this car, and like the gears are super close to each other. So if you're on the stock shifter, you have to shift really fast in some of the gears, like fourth and fifth. Otherwise, like you end up like not sticking up the ratios quite right.
There we go. So you said you've owned this since 2019, and you were cross-shopping with S2000s. Have you driven an S2000?
I haven't, no.
Oh, okay. So because we just did an S2000, my comparison for that, it feels a little softer, like in the suspension and the gas pedal, but the steering has just as much feedback, and I'm really liking this shifter.
Right. No, yeah, I was considering like this, or an S2000, or like a 350Z. Those were kind of like the top three options. Like, because I wanted something like, because I already had the Abarth, which was, front wheel drive, a little hatchback. And so I wanted something like a rear-wheel drive, kind of like classic sports car. And I thought those were kind of the best, the best of the bunch at that time.
Wow, this thing is super confidence inspiring.
Like I said, it's a Focus engine. It only has it's only rated like 160 horsepower and like 20 less torque from factory. But like when you wind it out, the car is so light that it doesn't really ever feel slow, I guess, except when you're trying to like go for like a pass like that, or like when you're on the highway. Then it feels a little slow.
No, it doesn't feel as I hate to say this, but it doesn't feel as gutless as an NA. Like, it feels like you have actual torque.
Oh yeah, I drove my friend's NA, and like you put your foot to the pedal and the car like just doesn't go anywhere. Like it just stays there. It makes a little more noise, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, this, like, I can keep up with traffic. I'm not like, I don't feel like I have to redline this thing to get all the power out of it. Although if you do keep it at redline, I mean, it's happy to sit up there.
Yeah. This is the 6-speed. Like you could get this car with a 5-speed or a 6-speed, depending on which trim level you got.
Interesting. Wait, so is the Sport the 6-speed then? Is it like a higher trim?
So the first year, the Sport was one trim under Grand Touring. So you basically got all the stuff you got in a Grand Touring. Like you got like the 6-speed transmission, but you didn't get like the leather seats, and you didn't get like the nicer headlights. But then they changed it after that, after the first year, so Sport became like the entry level basically.
Well, I've been finding 4th gear is kind of nice for like these back roads, because you're kind of like, it keeps you at like 34, 3500, like you're in the power band. Like you're starting to get into the power band, but you're not like overly stressing the engine out. So it's kind of just good gear, like, okay, you have torque.
Right.
And then when you're ready to slow down, you just throw it to 6. Although once you get it going a little faster, like 55, 60, I've kind of found 5th gear is still kind of nice. Just depends on how high you want to keep the tack. Those gear engagements are pretty immediate.
Yeah.
So it's a stock clutch kit, but it feels like from the factory they put a really light flywheel on here. The revs drop and raise really quickly. When I'm downshifting, I'm finding I'm kind of hitting it a little too far and I have to wait for it to come back down a little bit before I fully let out of the clutch.
No, yeah, the flywheel, I think it's like not super light, like 13 or 15 pounds, something like that, but it just revs like super freely. And people put light flywheels in this, and I'm like, dude, like, have you driven the stock one? Like, it already feels super light. Because like my Fiat, like you would have to wait for like the revs to do their thing too. And that's like a complaint I hear on a lot of cars. It's like, oh, like they just hang up there.
Rev hang plus a heavy flywheel, but this is like, it's a good weight for this car. It's not too light, not too heavy. It's not super noisy. I gotta get used to that shifter vibrations. Dude, that's crazy. I was grabbing 4th and it just started like vibrating a ton. I'm like, oh my god. Try 4. Yeah.
So I had the car stock for like stock shifter for most of its life, probably like 3 out of the 4 years I had it.
Yeah.
And then I bought one of these used, and I had it on for a few months, and I was like, I thought I like didn't want to put up with like vibrations, the noise, so I sold it and put the stock shifter assembly back on.
Yeah.
And then after driving that for a little while and like not having this, I missed it so much, and I went and bought another one of these. So this is actually my second version of this that I have.
Interesting. It feels good. It takes a little bit to get used to, but
no, yeah, like even when I put it on from having the stock shifter and having already driven one of these for a few months, like it felt like very direct. Like you're doing really, really well with the shifter, like for having not driven this car before, I think.
yeah. Do a lot of people struggle with it?
Like I don't know if like I would say like struggle with it, but like even when I put it back on, I was like, whoa, like this is really, really direct and short, you know?
Yeah.
Like the stock shifter, and I had like the stock shifter like raised a little bit even with like a heavier shift knob, so the throws were a little bit longer than they were from factory.
Yeah.
And then you put this one on, and the throws are like half the distance, you know, and the positioning's way different. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, right.
It took me like a couple weeks to really get used to it.
Yeah, you really got to mean it when you shift it. Like, you got to manhandle it. You got to use your kind of arm.
No, yeah, you got to
weight.
like really be confident when you shift it.
Yeah, like when I was at the one of the other turns back there, when I was going to grab 3 to 4, I grabbed it, but I didn't really grab it.
Pause it and like kind of think about what you're doing. It kind of doesn't like that as much.
Yeah, no, you gotta really just grab it and put it into gear. I think this paints NBs in a different light, because a lot of people look at the NC. A lot of people look at the NC, and you know the look is an immediate turnoff. And honestly, like, I've kind of more recently been more of the opinion of caring more about how the car drives as opposed to how it looks. But I think the way you have the fitment on this car, the wheel setup, the alignment, everything, it looks very aggressive. I think it looks really good. But getting beside that, I think the NC is a really well put together car. There's the brake. Okay. Ooh, those pads are nice. I'm sure that wasn't even... Am I in... Okay, I was in 5th. Hard to tell with the shorter gearing. Those pads are really good. I'm surprised. So, my shifts have not been the smoothest between 1, 2, and 3. And because the shifter is so notchy, I'm shifting quickly here, but your clutch work has to be a tiny bit slower. What I was just saying about the gearings, like even there I gave it the extra, like I threw it into gear quickly, but I gave it the extra second to kind of shift. It seemed to like that a lot better. So I think that's kind of where some of the, alright, Mazda's still building this kind of a street car sort of thing, kind of starts to chime in. That is it, everybody. We've finished our test drive of the 2006 NC Mazda Miata Sport, and overall, it was a really cool experience. So compared to the S2000, I'm going to use that as my comparison here. This is everything that's good about the S2000, but without as much of the drawbacks. Now, I say these are cheaper than S2000s, but I mean, realistically, if you were going to build one of these cars, I mean, you think you're in it S2000 money? Like,
the thing with S2000s, I feel like, is that people buy those cars and they're already in the car for like 20, 30 grand, and then so they'll drop like, you know, 3, 4 grand on a set of wheels, like 7, 8 grand on a hard top, you know, 2 grand on a wing, and those like costs aren't as incremental as like something like this, where people aren't really spending like the same type of money on these cars. So it's not necessarily that people, you know, don't spend as much money on these. It's the, I guess, more that like you can't per se.
Yeah, no, I see. Well, the S2000, you're in it so much more money to begin with. By the time you're done with the S2000, you're already in it so much money if you don't want to leave it stock. So it is also a trade-off, because I mean, the S2000, like, it already has a shifter that feels like this. The steering's already really tight. But if you do want to, I mean, there are some basic track mods that, all right, you just have to do to that car, and they'll start to add up. Whereas this car, you're in it for so much less to begin with, and then by the time you spend all that money, you're basically at what you would have paid for an S2000 to begin with.
Right, like you can get one of these and have it nicely modded out for the entry price of an S2000.
Like 20 grand.
Yeah.
But with that, let's go ahead and give it a score. Utility. The NC Miata has a nice ride quality for a convertible like this, but nothing to write home about. Some wind noise is present, but that is expected. No back seat, and the trunk is average for a convertible like this. It gets 3 out of 10. Features. There are some, but it's pretty bare-boned in here. Materials are nothing special, but the interior is laid out well. Cheap plastic in a lot of places, but you can tell upscale was not the goal here. It gets a 2.5 out of 10. MPG. The EPA rates the NC MX5 at 21 city and 28 highway, with a combined of 24. It gets a 6 out of 10. Cool level. The NC MX5 is not necessarily cool or uncool. In my opinion, it's a bit slept on, but there's nothing that really screams interesting or unique about this car. It gets a 4 out of 10. Driver's feedback. The steering and shifter feel were awesome. Very direct and communicative, similar to the S2000. I felt a stock shifter on one of these, and I can say it still holds up to that too. The brakes are punchy and had great modulation. However, the gas pedal was unfortunately the big letdown here. Not enough resistance, and it felt pretty disconnected from the car. That said, it still gets a 7 out of 10. Acceleration. The NC Miata has 0 to 60 of 7.5 seconds. It gets 1 out of 10. Should you buy it? The NC MX5 is a bargain in the marketplace. For the same money as a nice NA Miata, you could have a better performing, more modern equivalent that still has the perfect amount of feel for backroad fun. Not much more can really be said. It gets 13 out of 15, putting it here on our list. The daily categories hurt it a little bit, but it still scores pretty well. For fun and reliability, the NC MX5 is fantastic. It doesn't have the pop-up headlights or the same smart car footprint as the ones before it, but I think anyone that spends 15 minutes in the driver's seat of one of these will understand the craze.